If you've ever hosted a large golf tournament and have had volunteers come on site, you're likely familiar with the struggle of herding a group of people through your property that are very unfamiliar with it, especially during a week where the stakes are super high. To combat this, we've been working on something really cool in the Turfile platform that's going to allow your volunteers to show up on site day one and gain access to an interactive map that is baked with a ton of information about your property. Now, before we jump into how do we actually make this happen for the volunteers, I'm going to show you what it looks like from the volunteer perspective. So as always, this is just a random golf club with no Turfile affiliation. That said, as we look at the map together, you see the kind of classic Turfile handbook experience where your users can see important, course information like where they should be parking, where they can and cannot drive, the direction of cut for that day for certain areas. They can even click on infrastructure and see your photos and notes attached so they get a better idea of your standards while they're out on the golf course. As a volunteer, I can also search for critical locations that I might need to find quickly just by clicking search and tapping the location of interest, and the map will take me there automatically. I also have access to an event information hub. So if I click the event button, I'm brought to this page that has a list of useful documents and links that the management team has put together for us volunteers. So maybe we have some contact lists, the volunteer schedule, and maybe some links to some local restaurants. Now, if this is something you think your volunteers and management team would benefit from for your upcoming event, I would recommend you stick around and finish this video with me. I'm going to show you how we can create something like this for your golf course. So if you haven't already watched the introductory handbook video, would highly recommend you go and do that. In that video, we cover how to set up your handbook and how to add things to your map for your staff. It's kind of a prerequisite for this video. With that said, let's just jump right into it. So the first thing that I am going to do is enable the volunteer map in your handbook. So you know that not every golf course is going to host an event, so it is a bit hidden. So I'm going to navigate to the handbook preferences, and then I'm going to come over here and click volunteer map. Now, as you can see, my volunteer map is turned off, so I'm going to turn it on. Now, as soon as I do that, you can see down at the bottom of the screen, we get our little staff to volunteer toggle. So I'm going to exit out of here, and keep in mind, I am looking at my staff handbook that my team is going to look at every day while they're out in the field. If I want to switch to the volunteer handbook, I'm just going to click volunteer. Now, both of them are identical at this point, but for you, they likely will not be. Your volunteer handbook should be empty. So if your volunteer handbook is empty, what you can do is you can come over to the copy from staff, click it, and you can select all the objects that you've already mapped in your staff handbook and bring them right over to the volunteer handbook. Anything that you add, whether it's an object, a line, an area, or text to your volunteer map or your staff map, respectively, are going to stay there. Okay, they're not going to cross over to one another. Now, as soon as I'm happy with the volunteer handbook, I'm going to come over to the publish button on the toolbar. Now, as you can see, it's going to ask me to name the event. You can name it whatever you would like. And then from there, all you have to do is click I understand, and then click publish. Now, if your publish was successful, you're going to see the screen where it gives you the access code for your volunteer map. You can either copy it now, or you can copy it later. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to click done. So now that I've published my event, if I want to manage it, I'm going to come over to the toolbar and click event. And in this panel, I'm going to be able to see, obviously, the event access code. I can upload some event info like we covered earlier. So that can be a PDF or some links. We have the Turfile download QR code for the App Store and the Google Play Store that you can print off to put on your volunteer packet. And then, of course, you can unpublish the volunteer handbook when the event is done. Now, it's important to mention when you give access to your volunteer handbook to somebody, it's not the same as inviting them into your Turfile workspace. So when you invite somebody into your Turfile workspace, they actually become a member. They can contribute. They can see your property issues. The volunteer map is just a copy of a map that you've created that is now publicly available, and you can gain access to it with your event code. So do keep that in mind. Only be passing out your code to your volunteers. The final thing that I would mention about the volunteer handbook is that unlike the staff handbook, where as soon as you change the direction of cut for any of your surfaces, this is not going to be updated immediately. If you update your direction of cut for the volunteer handbook for that day, you need to come in and click republish, or else your team will not see it while they're out in the field. As always, I hope that that was useful, and I look forward to seeing how some events are using Turfile to help manage and assist their volunteers while they're out in the field.